Have you ever wondered why some people suddenly turn against you? Without reason, without warning, and without explanation. One day, you're connected. The next, there's silence, distance, even resentment. You replay every word, every action, searching for your mistake, but you find none. The truth is, the answer often lies not in what you did, but in what you reflect. Every human being carries an invisible mirror within. It's the unseen surface that reflects our deepest truths, our brightest light, and our darkest shadows. When two people meet, it's not just personalities that interact. It's reflections meeting reflections. What they see in you is filtered through what they deny in themselves. And that's where the tension begins. People don't actually see you as you are. They see themselves through you. Your presence, your choices, your silence, all become mirrors that reveal their inner world. When they love you, it's often because you reflect qualities they desire: your kindness, your strength, your understanding. But when their affection turns into hate, it's rarely about your actions. It's about the uncomfortable truth your presence brings to the surface. The mirror principle teaches that the world outside us is a projection of what's inside us. Every person we meet becomes a surface upon which our unconscious paints its patterns. When someone sees in you arrogance, it may be the arrogance they repress within. When they accuse you of selfishness, it might be their own unacknowledged self-interest. And when they suddenly start to hate you, it's often because your reflection has shown them something they can no longer deny. Imagine standing in front of a mirror that doesn't flatter, one that doesn't hide the cracks or soften the lines. At first, it feels uncomfortable, maybe even painful. That discomfort isn't caused by the mirror, it's caused by the truth it reveals. The same happens in human relationships. The more authentic you become, the clearer the mirror you hold up to others. Some people aren't ready for that clarity. They will try to shatter the mirror instead of facing their reflection. It begins subtly. You evolve, you grow more aware, more grounded, more at peace. The energy that once resonated with gossip, drama, or emotional chaos no longer appeals to you. You withdraw, not out of arrogance, but alignment. You stop participating in patterns that drain you. You start speaking your truth softly but firmly. And suddenly, the same people who once called you humble now call you distant. The same ones who loved your compassion now accuse you of being cold. What changed is not your heart, it's their reflection. The mirror principle also explains why emotional reactions are rarely about the present moment. When someone lashes out at you for something minor, they are not reacting to you. They are reacting to a past wound you unknowingly touched. Your tone of voice may remind them of a controlling parent. Your confidence may awaken memories of their own insecurity. You become a living screen upon which their unhealed emotions are projected. Understanding this doesn't make you superior, it makes you free. It allows you to see beyond the surface drama of human interaction. Instead of taking every act of hostility personally, you begin to observe it as energy returning to its source. You understand that what they hate in you might be what they've disowned in themselves. This is why highly self-aware people often attract both admiration and animosity. They stand as mirrors of truth, reflecting both light and shadow. Their presence exposes illusions. Their words, even when gentle, pierce through pretense. And for those still living within their projections, this feels threatening. To face truth is to risk transformation, and not everyone is ready to transform. When someone suddenly dislikes you, it may simply mean you've outgrown the reflection they once found comforting. Perhaps you were once their listener, absorbing their pain, validating their perspective. But as you healed, you no longer carried the same emotional resonance. You stopped reflecting their wounds and started reflecting their potential. And for many, that shift feels unbearable because potential demands accountability. The mirror principle also reveals something profound about love and hate. They are not opposites. They are both forms of recognition. Love says, I see something beautiful in you that I recognize in myself. Hate says, I see something in you that I've buried in myself. In both cases, it's still a mirror. The difference lies in whether the reflection brings peace or pain. The danger lies in forgetting this truth. When you take someone's hate personally, you begin to distort your own reflection. You question your worth, your integrity, your path. You start polishing the mirror for their comfort, dimming your light to protect their illusion. But the more you hide, the more your spirit suffocates. The mirror principle is not meant to make you hide. It's meant to make you see. Every accusation you face can become a revelation if you look through the lens of awareness. Ask yourself, is this truly who I am? Or is this a projection of their shadow? When someone calls you selfish for setting boundaries, it may reflect their fear of being denied. When they call you arrogant for having confidence, it may reflect their shame around self-worth. When they call you fake for changing, it may reflect their refusal to grow. You are not responsible for what others project onto you. Your only task is to remain a clear mirror, to hold your ground in truth without absorbing their distortion. Their reaction reveals their inner landscape, not your failure. The clearer your self-awareness becomes, the more transparent your relationships will be. Some will stay and grow with you, others will retreat into denial. Both outcomes serve your evolution. The mirror principle is the quiet truth beneath every human connection. It explains why admiration turns into resentment, why friendship fades after growth, why some love your light until it touches their shadow. You are the mirror, and they are the reflection. The moment they can no longer face what they see in you, they turn away, not from you, but from themselves. There are moments in life when you begin to notice the silent distance forming between you and certain people. Conversations lose their rhythm, laughter feels forced, and what once felt natural now feels heavy. You haven't done anything wrong. You haven't changed your heart. Yet something inside you feels different, lighter, calmer, more grounded. What you're experiencing is not rejection, it's an energetic shift. Every human being is a field of energy, constantly vibrating, radiating, and exchanging unseen frequencies with the world around them. We attract what resonates with our state of being and repel what no longer aligns. When your inner world evolves, when your awareness deepens, when your intentions become clearer, your vibration rises. This shift is subtle, invisible, but immensely powerful. It reorganizes your entire emotional ecosystem. And not everyone will resonate with the new version of you. Energy doesn't lie. It speaks in silence, in intuition, in the spaces between words. You can sense when someone's energy no longer matches yours. The conversation drains you, and the environment feels dense, and your intuition whispers, you've outgrown this frequency. This doesn't mean you're better than anyone. It simply means your internal rhythm has changed. You are vibrating to a higher, more self-aligned frequency, while others may still be anchored in the old one. In the realm of energy, resonance is everything. People bond through emotional and energetic resonance, shared wounds, shared dreams, shared fears. The resonance that once held two people together may dissolve when one begins to heal. If your friendship was built on mutual pain, the moment you start healing, the resonance breaks. The other person might feel the shift as distance or coldness, unaware that it's not emotional withdrawal, it's energetic evolution. Energy shifts often begin in silence. You start craving solitude more than attention, peace more than validation, truth more than comfort. You stop explaining yourself to those who only listen to argue. You become sensitive to the energy behind words, not just the words themselves. And in that sensitivity, you begin to recognize who uplifts your vibration and who drains it. This recognition changes your entire energetic reality. People sense these shifts even when they can't articulate them. Some will feel magnetically drawn to your energy, while others will feel unconsciously repelled by it. This is the law of resonance. Frequencies either harmonize or dissonate. You can't force alignment through willpower or persuasion. The energetic language of the universe is precise. It organizes everything according to vibration, not emotion. When you start embodying a higher level of self-awareness, your energy begins to speak a new language. It communicates through stillness, clarity, and authenticity. This new vibration may unsettle those who are still operating in the chaos of emotional dependency or control. Your calmness challenges their drama. Your silence threatens their ego. Your peace exposes their restlessness. They may interpret this as arrogance or indifference, but in truth, it's simply misalignment in resonance. Energetic resonance is not static. It constantly adjusts as you grow. Every time you release a fear, heal a trauma, or forgive an old wound, your frequency recalibrates. It's like tuning a musical instrument. When you rise in consciousness, the notes you emit change. Some people will harmonize with your new song, others will no longer recognize the melody. This is why certain relationships fade without conflict. The soul simply stops dancing to the same rhythm. You may try to hold on. You may lower your vibration to meet theirs again, to restore the old comfort, but you'll notice that it drains your spirit. The conversations that once gave you life now leave you empty. The environments that once felt safe now feel suffocating. That discomfort is your energy signaling it's time to move forward. When your energy evolves, you naturally attract people and experiences aligned with your new state. The universe rearranges itself to match your vibration. Suddenly, you find peace in places you once overlooked and beauty in silence you once feared. You begin to connect with those who see you, not as you were, but as you are becoming. This is resonance at its purest, a meeting of frequencies, not personalities. But there's another side to energetic shifts that many struggle with: the resistance from others. Not everyone will celebrate your evolution. Some will sense the shift and feel threatened. The dynamic you once shared gave them identity or control, and now your transformation disrupts it. They might start questioning your motives, mocking your peace, or accusing you of changing. But you didn't change for them. You changed for your soul. What they're reacting to is not your behavior, it's your frequency no longer feeding their emotional dependency. Energy shifts expose hidden intentions. The person who once seemed caring may grow distant when you no longer play the role of savior. The friend who called you loyal may vanish when you stop validating their negativity. Your new vibration acts as a filter, revealing who was connected to your essence and who was connected to your energy supply. You start realizing that some relationships thrive not because of love, but because of energetic exchange, attention, validation, emotional familiarity. When the source changes, the connection dissolves. The beauty of resonance is that it always aligns you with authenticity. Every shift strips away what's false and brings you closer to your core. The universe does not take people away to punish you. It reorders your reality to protect your evolution. When someone's presence starts to feel heavy, it's not rejection, it's energy signaling incompatibility. When silence replaces constant chatter, it's not loss, it's alignment creating space for deeper resonance. The more you understand energetic dynamics, the more peaceful you become with change. You stop forcing connections. You stop chasing what drifts away. You stop explaining your transformation. You realize that everything operates according to frequency, and your only responsibility is to maintain your inner vibration in truth. Every emotion, every thought, every intention carries a frequency. When you shift from fear to faith, from chaos to clarity, from need to wholeness, your energetic signature transforms. And that transformation naturally alters your environment. The world mirrors your inner vibration with perfect precision. Relationships fall away, not because of cruelty, but because your energy has ascended beyond their resonance. You start attracting people who match your new vibration. Those who recognize your growth not as a threat, but as a reflection of their own potential. Energy shifts and resonance remind you that life is not random. It's rhythmic. The people who remain in harmony with you are those vibrating in similar truth. Those who fade away are simply on a different frequency of the same universal song. The more you rise in awareness, the more you understand that every departure, every silence, and every change in connection is the universe tuning your energy toward greater alignment. There comes a point in every person's life when growth begins to whisper from deep within. It starts softly, an uneasiness with the familiar, a quiet discontent with old patterns, a sense that something inside wants to expand. Yet, the moment you begin to move toward that transformation, an invisible resistance rises from within. It argues, it doubts, it panics. That voice, subtle yet persuasive, is the voice of the ego, the inner guardian of your identity, terrified of change. The ego is not evil, it's ancient. It was built to protect your sense of self, to give you continuity in a chaotic world. It defines who you think you are, your stories, your achievements, your labels, your beliefs. It's the part of you that says, this is me and that is not. For the ego, stability equals survival. Transformation, therefore, feels like death, because to grow means to question the very foundation of who you believe yourself to be. Every genuine transformation begins with discomfort. You start noticing patterns that no longer serve you. You begin to see through the illusions that once felt like truth. And the ego resists. It whispers, don't go there. It tells you that change will make you lose control, lose connection, lose your sense of identity. It will fight to keep you within familiar boundaries, even if those boundaries are suffocating. Because for the ego, safety is not found in freedom, but in repetition. The ego fears transformation because it cannot exist without attachment. It clings to roles and identities: the good person, the strong one, the victim, the helper, the achiever. These roles give it meaning. When life challenges those identities, when something calls you to transcend them, the ego interprets it as annihilation. You begin to feel anxiety, confusion, even guilt for wanting more. You question your right to evolve. You tell yourself that you're being selfish, ungrateful, or unrealistic. But beneath those thoughts lies a single emotion: fear. Fear is the ego's last defense. It uses fear to keep you anchored in the known. The unknown, though full of potential, is a territory where the ego has no control. It cannot predict or manipulate what lies beyond the edges of familiarity. That's why when transformation approaches, you may feel lost, uncertain, or disconnected from who you once were. This is not regression, it's rebirth. The old self is dissolving, and the ego mistakes that dissolution for danger. The ego doesn't only resist your growth, it also resists the growth of others around you. When someone close to you changes, their transformation mirrors your own stagnation. It forces you to confront the question, why am I still here while they've moved forward? That comparison triggers insecurity, jealousy, and resistance. This is why growth often disrupts relationships. One person's expansion exposes the other's fear of transformation. The ego's fear is deeply rooted in its attachment to identity. It defines itself through possessions, beliefs, and external validation. It says, I am what others think of me. I am my success, my status, my story. But transformation demands surrender. It asks you to let go of those attachments and face the vastness of your true self. To the ego, that surrender feels like death, because what lies beyond cannot be controlled, labeled, or owned. When transformation begins, the ego launches subtle defenses. It distracts you with business. It keeps you scrolling, comparing, consuming. It feeds you stories of failure and inadequacy. It convinces you that comfort equals happiness. It will even disguise itself as spiritual insight, saying you're already healed, there's nothing left to change. But deep inside, you know that something is still waiting to unfold. Transformation is the natural movement of life itself. Everything in nature transforms. Seeds become trees, caterpillars become butterflies, rivers carve new paths. Only the human ego resists this flow. It builds walls of logic, fear, and pride to preserve its illusion of permanence. Yet every wall the ego builds becomes a prison. The more tightly it grips the old self, the more painful the process of change becomes. You can observe the ego's fear in moments of emotional reaction. When someone challenges your beliefs and anger rises, it's the ego protecting its territory. When failure feels unbearable, it's the ego fearing the loss of its image. When rejection hurts more than it should, it's the ego clinging to external validation. Each of these reactions is an invitation to see the fear beneath the surface, to understand that the ego is not your enemy. It's just afraid. The process of transformation dismantles illusions. It reveals that your identity is not fixed, it's fluid. You are not your titles, your roles, or your memories. You are consciousness experiencing itself through changing forms. But to live from that awareness means allowing the ego to loosen its grip, and that surrender feels like dying. This is why people often retreat when real change begins. They sense the magnitude of what must be released, the false self, and the fear becomes overwhelming. The ego's fear of transformation also shows up in collective patterns. Societies cling to old structures, traditions, and beliefs. even when they no longer serve humanity's evolution. The same mechanism that resists personal change resists cultural and spiritual change. The collective ego fears the dissolution of the familiar narrative because that narrative provides identity and control. In truth, the ego fears transformation because transformation exposes illusion. It reveals that the self it worked so hard to protect was never truly separate from life. It was a temporary structure, useful for survival, but not meant to rule your consciousness. The ego's fear is understandable. It was built to defend you against chaos. But when you begin to awaken, what once protected you now limits you. When you start breaking cycles, forgiving deeply, speaking your truth, and stepping into authenticity, the ego panics. It will tell you you're losing yourself, but in reality, you're shedding everything false. You're not losing identity, you're remembering essence. Every resistance, every doubt, every fear you feel in this process is the ego trembling before the vast unknown of transformation. The ego fears transformation because transformation is truth unveiling itself. And truth does not comfort the ego, it dissolves it. That dissolution is not the end of you. It's the beginning of who you truly are underneath everything you were taught to be. There comes a moment in everyone's life when the image you hold of the world begins to fracture. The people you once trusted reveal their masks. The systems you believed in show their flaws. The stories you told yourself about who you are and what life should be start to lose their power. This moment, though painful, is not destruction, it is revelation. It is the collapse of illusions, the moment when truth demands to be seen no matter how uncomfortable it feels. Human beings live through symbols, ideas, and identities. From the moment we are born, we inherit beliefs about love, success, morality, and meaning. These beliefs become the invisible framework through which we interpret everything. We don't see reality directly. We see it filtered through the illusions we carry. They comfort us, guide us, and give us a sense of certainty. Yet, what brings comfort often becomes a cage. The ego clings to illusions because they protect it from the vast unpredictability of existence. Illusions are not lies, they are partial truths mistaken for the whole. They begin as coping mechanisms. The illusion of control helps us feel safe in a chaotic world. The illusion of permanence helps us face the fleeting nature of life. The illusion of superiority shields us from feelings of inadequacy. But when consciousness expands, these illusions start to break. They can no longer contain the growing awareness of truth that emerges from within. The collapse of illusions feels like betrayal because the mind identifies with its beliefs. When a belief shatters, it feels as though a part of you has died. You might lose faith in people, in relationships, in systems, or even in yourself. You question your purpose, your direction, your meaning. The ground that once felt solid now feels uncertain. This is the moment when the psyche stands between two worlds, the world of illusion and the world of truth. In this space of collapse, you begin to seek that much of what you called love was attachment, much of what you called strength was control, much of what you called peace was avoidance. The illusion of self-importance begins to crumble when you realize how small the ego's narrative is compared to the vastness of being. The illusion of others' perfection dissolves when you witness their humanity. The illusion of permanence fades when you see how every experience, no matter how beautiful, eventually changes form. Illusions collapse when truth enters consciousness. Truth is not something you believe, it's something you recognize. It doesn't need validation, approval, or consensus. It simply reveals itself. But the human mind resists truth when it threatens identity. It fights to preserve the old stories, the familiar explanations, the comforting labels. This inner resistance is what creates suffering during awakening. You're not in pain because truth hurts. You're in pain because illusion is being peeled away. Every illusion you hold serves a psychological function. The illusion of being needed keeps you from facing loneliness. The illusion of moral superiority hides your insecurity. The illusion of being unlovable protects you from the risk of vulnerability. As awareness deepens, these illusions begin to contradict your lived experience. You see that no one truly belongs to anyone, that control is temporary, that the validation doesn't bring fulfillment, and that the love you seek outside is a reflection of the love you withhold from yourself. The collapse of illusions often begins through crisis. Life uses discomfort as an invitation to awaken. The breakup, the betrayal, the failure, the loss, these events are not punishments, they are catalysts. They strip away the illusions that kept you asleep. The person who leaves exposes your illusion of security. The job that ends dissolves your illusion of stability. The friend who betrays you shatters your illusion of loyalty. Each collapse reveals a deeper truth beneath the surface, that nothing outside you can define who you are. In this phase, confusion becomes your teacher. You start questioning everything you once accepted without thought. You ask, who am I without my roles? What is love without expectation? What is success without comparison? These questions unsettle the ego because they dismantle its structure. Yet, they open the doorway to authentic consciousness. The more illusions you shed, the closer you move to reality as it truly is, unfiltered, raw, and alive. Illusions are seductive because they offer certainty. They tell you who to be, what to believe, and how to live. Truth, however, offers no such guarantees. It demands vulnerability. It asks you to stand naked before existence, without masks, without defense. When illusions collapse, you begin to see that the people who loved you often loved the version of you that fit their own illusions. When you stop fitting those projections, love withdraws, not because you changed, but because the illusion no longer holds. This realization is one of the hardest to face. People don't fall in love with who you are, they fall in love with the image of you that mirrors their desires and wounds. When you grow beyond that image, they feel betrayed. But it's not betrayal, it's awakening. The same applies to how you see others. The friend you idolized, the mentor you trusted, the lover you idealized, all were mirrors reflecting the parts of yourself you weren't ready to own. When illusion collapses, you begin to see them not as gods or villains, but as humans, flawed, complex, evolving. The collapse of illusions dismantles not only personal beliefs, but collective ones. You start seeing through societal myths, the illusion that wealth equals worth, that productivity equals purpose, that conformity equals belonging. These cultural illusions keep humanity asleep, chasing external validation instead of inner truth. When enough individuals awaken from these illusions, collective consciousness begins to shift. But awakening is rarely peaceful. Every great transformation begins with the breakdown of what once felt certain. In moments of collapse, the ego mourns. It grieves the loss of certainty, the loss of narrative, the loss of control. You might feel empty, detached, or directionless. Yet, in that emptiness, something real begins to emerge. For the first time, you see life without filters, its impermanence, its fragility, its raw beauty. You begin to understand that truth was never hiding. It was always there, waiting for you to stop believing the illusions that covered it. Illusions collapse not to punish you, but to awaken you. What falls away was never yours to begin with. What remains after every collapse is not something new. It is what has always been true. Beneath every mask, every belief, every story you once mistook for reality, there are moments when someone suddenly turns cold, resentful, or hostile toward you, and you can't trace the reason. You replay every conversation, searching for what you said or did wrong. But what if the reason lies deeper, beyond words, beyond logic, in the unseen layers of the human psyche? What if what you are experiencing isn't about you at all, but about an unconscious exchange of shadow energy that occurs between people every day without their awareness? Every human being carries within them a shadow, the unacknowledged part of the psyche that holds what we deny, repress, or refuse to see in ourselves. It contains not only our fear, shame, and guilt, but also our disowned strength, creativity, and authenticity. The shadow is everything the conscious mind rejects in order to maintain a stable self-image. But the energy of what we repress doesn't disappear, it seeks expression. And when it cannot be expressed inwardly, it finds a vessel outside of us. This is where the shadow exchange begins. The shadow exchange happens when two people unconsciously project parts of themselves onto each other. One person becomes the container for the other's hidden emotions. You might meet someone who irritates you instantly without reason, or someone might dislike you without any cause. What's really happening is an energetic projection. Something in them recognizes in you what they refuse to accept in themselves. Your existence becomes a mirror reflecting their disowned parts, and their reaction toward you becomes the language of that repression. When someone projects their shadow onto you, they often feel justified in their feelings. They say, "You're arrogant," or "You're selfish," or "You're fake," unaware that these accusations are more about their inner world than your actions. The human psyche has a clever way of protecting the ego from discomfort. It externalizes inner conflict. By locating the problem outside, the person avoids confronting the chaos within, and yet every judgment we place on another carries a trace of our own hidden material. The shadow exchange is not limited to hostility. It can also manifest through attraction. You might feel an unexplainable pull toward someone because they embody qualities you've suppressed in yourself. You admire their confidence, their freedom, their boldness. But that attraction is a message from your shadow. It's showing you what you've abandoned within. The same energetic mechanism that fuels hatred also fuels fascination. Both are forms of recognition, though the ego interprets one as love and the other as rejection. In relationships, the shadow exchange operates continuously. Lovers project their ideal selves onto one another at the beginning, seeing only the light, the gentleness, the beauty, the understanding. But as intimacy deepens, the hidden parts begin to surface. Suddenly, admiration turns into criticism, passion turns into resentment. What's happening is not love disappearing, it's the unconscious shadow demanding acknowledgement. One partner starts to carry the other's unresolved emotions. They become the target of misplaced anger, envy, or insecurity. The more unaware both people are, the more toxic the exchange becomes. This is why certain relationships feel draining. It's not just emotional incompatibility, it's energetic entanglement. When you unconsciously absorb someone's shadow projections, you start to feel emotions that don't belong to you. You feel guilty for no reason, anxious around certain people, or responsible for their mood swings. Empaths, in particular, experience this intensely because their open energy field attracts unprocessed emotion like a magnet. The shadow seeks hosts who are receptive enough to carry its weight. The only way to break free from the shadow exchange is through awareness. Awareness dissolves projection. When you recognize that what you feel may not be yours, you stop internalizing others' darkness as your own. And when you notice yourself judging or condemning someone else, you can pause and ask, what part of me am I refusing to see through them? That question alone interrupts the cycle. It turns reaction into reflection. The energy that once moved outward as blame begins to move inward as insight. The shadow exchange explains why human interactions are often charged with emotions disproportionate to the situation. A simple disagreement can trigger deep rage, not because of the topic, but because the person feels unconsciously confronted with their shadow. The stronger the denial, the stronger the reaction. This is why spiritual growth, though often spoken of in gentle terms, is anything but comfortable. To truly awaken, one must face not only the light of awareness, but the darkness it reveals. In the social realm, shadow exchange operates on a collective scale. Entire groups project their unwanted qualities onto others. Cultures, nations, and ideologies define themselves not only by what they are, but by what they claim not to be. We are righteous, they are corrupt. We are civilized, they are savage. These collective projections fuel conflict, prejudice, and separation. Humanity's external wars are reflections of its internal disunity. The same mechanism that causes two individuals to fight causes civilizations to collapse. Within families, the shadow exchange can shape generations. Parents project their unrealized dreams and unhealed wounds onto their children. A mother who suppresses her ambition might push her child to achieve, living through them unconsciously. A father who fears vulnerability might shame his child for expressing emotion. The child, in turn, inherits not only the genetic traits, but the emotional imprints of these projections. This cycle continues until someone becomes aware enough to stop carrying what doesn't belong to them. When you begin to awaken to this hidden dynamic, you start seeing energy exchanges in real time. You notice when someone tries to offload their anger onto you. You feel the pull of guilt that isn't yours. You sense when admiration is actually projection. And instead of reacting, you observe, you recognize that every interaction is an invitation to reclaim your own disowned fragments. You stop being a container for others' unconsciousness and start becoming a mirror of awareness itself. But awareness also brings responsibility. Once you see the shadow exchange clearly, you can no longer blame others for your triggers. Every person who irritates you, every situation that unsettles you, becomes a teacher pointing toward a part of yourself you haven't fully integrated. The more you resist, the more life repeats the pattern through different people and circumstances. The shadow will find ways to return until it's faced consciously. The energy of the shadow is not inherently negative. It's simply energy that has been denied expression. When acknowledged, it transforms. Anger becomes strength. Envy becomes inspiration. fear becomes wisdom. Every time you integrate a fragment of your shadow, you reclaim lost vitality. The energy that once fueled projection returns as creative power. You stop scattering your essence through unconscious exchanges and begin living from wholeness. The shadow exchange reveals the invisible architecture of human relationships. It explains why people turn against you without reason, why love transforms into resentment, why peace attracts hostility. It shows that what moves between humans is not merely emotion or thought, it's energy shaped by consciousness and unconsciousness intertwined